In a world where coaches are crazy and referees are blind, there's always something to talk about. Dixie Football Fanatics with Chet and Bill.
Mom! Billy's hogging the microphone again.
Dude, seriously?
Finally, some people with brains.
Whatever. Yippee.
Dixie Football Fanatics is on right now, kids.
Oh, this is too good.
I like it.
You have just entered the red zone. Now, your hosts. Let's hear it for Chet Young and Bill Cole.
All right, Chet, man, I love that ovation every week hearing the Dixie Football Fanatics crowd noise when they hear Chet and Bill coming in.
Just like we're running through the T or breaking through the A or whatever you guys do in Tuscaloosa. What do you guys do in Tuscaloosa?
Well, they actually line up the band. It's similar to the T. You know, they have it half the field with the band, and they split down the middle. The team comes in, peel off to the right to the sound usually of AC/DC's Thunderstruck, which is a bad song, by the way. And
that's not tradition.
And then they play, and then they break into the $1 Million Band's version of Yay, Alabama, and crowd goes wild. The flags running across the field. So, but yeah, I mean, I actually check it out, man. I posted to YouTube the intro that I videotaped the other day at Bryant Denny. So
really,
yeah, it's on there right now.
So you're a YouTube guy?
Yeah, I've done my share of.
Is it on the Fanatics YouTube? Well, we don't have a YouTube for the Fanatics yet, do we?
It's under Bama Bill, something like
Bama
that.
Bill.
But yeah, my previous persona, but now I'm the Dixie Football Fanatic Bill.
The Fanatic Bill.
I'm the Fanatic. Anyway, Chet, man, it was great. A great weekend for me last weekend. My Tide doubled up and beat down the Florida Gators 42-21.
Had a little gator tail for dinner?
So to speak. I would have actually liked to have had some gator meat because that's pretty good.
We could have went down. There's a place on Andrew Jackson or something that you can buy it, I think.
Down at the maybe Po' Boy Factory.
Po' Boy Factory.
Yeah.
I think I've had it down there before. Yeah.
We need to do that sometime.
That would be good, but that would be great.
But yeah, back to the field, man. A good big win for the Tide. I know Tennessee was off this week. But
didn't get beat.
Some other big games played, but yeah, how was your weekend, Chet?
Well, we didn't get beat. I'll tell you what I did. I wanted to watch the Tide and Gators play, right? So I sat down at 2:30, Bill, and I watched the entire Tide and Gators go at it. After that game was over, there was Mississippi State and LSU, another game I watched. And while that game was going on, I also watched the Oklahoma West Virginia game. Okay? Yeah. And then after that game was over, I watched a little bit of the Oregon-Washington State game. So from about 2:30 to almost midnight, I was doing nothing but watching football. I was a knot on a log.
I think you forgot to mention, and I'm sure you watched Florida State Clemson. That game was on.
I was bouncing back and forth. I was bouncing back and forth. Yeah, it was. I was more interested in some of the other ones, believe it or not. But speaking of that game, and I don't know what your take on. You might have watched some of it or not, but I'm not so sure Florida State's the number one team, especially without Winston. And Winston's a wild card, Bill. I don't know if Winston's going to make it all year.
Mm. Yeah, he is. He's something else, man. He's just, he's just out of control, if you ask me. And just the whole thing, this whole incident, even the way Florida State and Jimbo Fisher has handled it is, it's reflected badly on him. And his NFL stock and his, even his. The thought of Winston as a college player has really diminished because of it. I think deservedly so. I mean, the guy's a pure D knucklehead, man.
He is, and he certainly hasn't grown up. What he did this past, we won't go into what he did, but what he did, to get him suspended from this last game, you learn not to do that in 8th grade. I mean, come on, people. I mean, that was ridiculous. For those of you, well, you don't want to go look it up. It was bad. It was just bad. It was very unrespectful of women.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty shocking. I mean, I know college, we're several years past our college days, but I know, things are a little different on the way some of the college kids act. But, I mean, what he did in the position he is as a leader of a football team, as a public figure, the Heisman Trophy winner, Chet, and to do that and jeopardize his team was just ridiculous. I mean, the guy's had so many incidents, and you're wondering what's next. There's going to be one. I mean, it's
coming. It's coming. He may not make it through the year, or if he does, it'll be just the fact that Jimbo Fisher and the Florida State refused to kick the kid off the team or really do something about him because of the winning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that struck me earlier in the week that was it was something I tweeted out. I said, the most hilarious thing Winston said in his little apology deal was, "I'm not a me person." If there's ever been a me person, in sports, it's probably Jameis Winston. I mean, this guy, is a great talent and everything, but he's just all about him some Jameis.
Who is controlling this guy? I mean, the guy is suspended from the game, and then he comes out dressed out for the game. I mean, if I'm the head coach, you ain't in the locker room. You're suspended. You have been banned from the fellowship of your brotherhood of your team members for this game.
Yeah.
You're not part of the team this game.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, can you imagine a Nick Saban, a Bear Bryant, a Johnny Majors, or Fulmer, or Butch Jones putting up with something like this?
No, it's not going to happen.
But, yeah, I mean, I'm glad I wasn't. I was on the road, went to a wedding, and was on the way back trying to pull in games on the radio, but I'm glad I wasn't able to see that game because I think I would have been pretty PO'd, so to speak, about seeing just Jameis on the sideline, mugging around.
Constant video of him.
It was from just the highlights. I mean, he ran out on the field after he scored.
That's ridiculous.
But anyway, the thing about the uniform, initially he was going to be suspended half, and then it come down, the intervention of the athletic director and the president said, "Hey, man," they said, "Winston, you're sitting out the whole game." But it's possible that his uniform might have been staged in there for him by a manager. But to think that he suited up and came out and was warming up, was just pretty dumb.
What about the Mississippi State LSU game? Now, Mississippi State put an absolute whipping on the LSU Tigers, all the way up till about 3 minutes to go in the game. Then all of a sudden, Mullen pulls one of these, I'm taking my foot off the gas, so to speak, and like to let LSU back in the game. But the real kicker in that game, Bill, is Mississippi State center. I think what's his name, Day?
Dylan Day, or something
I think
like
it's
that.
Day. But anyway, he's now suspended. But did you see what he did?
I did. It was a play downfield, and the ball carrier was tackled, and the clip I saw is the guy, he leaped up and landed on the ball carrier's stomach. Pretty much.
Yeah, with his left foot, Bill. And I've talked to some Mississippi State guys, and they say, well, it was an accident. He's hustling to the play, and he jumps over the pile, and a guy rolls under him and just happens to step on him. But if you watch the video clip of that, Bill, he stomps him. It ain't like I barely do it. It means when he's about to land that foot in his belly, he gives it an extra.
Well, you know how if you're about to, if you step off and you realize, oh, I'm about to step on something. Yeah, I mean, you're going to kind of be hopping, that foot, Yeah, you're going to
try not to do it, right?
But apparently
he drove his cleats into his gut.
Apparently, Mike Slive in the SEC office saw the same video you saw and had the same interpretation because the guy's
he just happens to hustle to all those tackles, and he jumped over another guy, Bill, and stomped this guy's arm in the same game. And then last year against Auburn, he got in trouble for a similar situation. So the guy's got a history. And he's suspended though for the Texas A&M game. So that's not gonna help Mississippi State. Oh, by the way, I talked to a Mississippi State guy, and the guy that snapped the ball over the dude's head in the Mississippi State game, that guy's not going to be the starting center against Texas A&M. They're moving the guard or something over.
Yeah, that game, a very impressive win by State, but marred by that incident. And he's the guy. He's the long-haired white dude with the tattoos everywhere. Maybe he's trying to
he's a tough dude.
Develop he's
tough. Auburn had a guy that was pretty tough too a couple of years ago that some people would say he was accused of being dirty. I don't remember his name, but we're gonna be going off in the weeds
Nick
here.
Fairley was dirty.
Well, I'm talking about on the offensive side, but anyway. So real quickly, Bill, the scores of this last Auburn over Kansas State, 20
to 14.
20 to 14 on a Thursday night, yeah. And, of course, there was some little controversy after that game. The Snyder accusing Auburn of stealing their signals. Grow up, Snyder, okay? Just grow up. If they did steal your signals, you need to have better signals than what you got if they're stealing your signals. I can say, Georgia. What about that Georgia score? That's close.
66-0 over the hapless Troy Trojans. And I know they were in the 40s before halftime.
Yeah,
I watched
ridiculous.
a little bit of that getting ready, but I don't think there's anything to say about that. Georgia's playing well against the Patsies, but they got the Vols coming up.
They got the Vols. We'll get to that here in a little bit.
Texas A&M rolls easy over SMU, 58-6.
Florida, Alabama. Can I say a few words about that?
Go ahead.
Alabama beat them worse than a 42-21 score, Bill. If you guys hang on to the ball, Florida does absolutely nothing, and this game is over really before halftime. You guys just thoroughly stomped Florida, and I'll say Muschamp's in trouble, and they got a week off to prepare for the Vols, and the Vols got a big game this weekend, like you mentioned, but they got a week off to prepare for the Vols, and that's going to be a big game for Muschamp's career at Florida. Even if he beats Tennessee, he's going to have to win a few more. Muschamp's on the ropes, man. They don't have any Muschamp love here. You get that one?
Muschamp love.
What was that? Muskrat? What's that?
Muskrat love.
Yeah.
Captain and Tennille. Oh, I should
there you
ask
go.
that question for you there.
You got trivia for me sometime.
Yeah,
I don't know
we'll
that.
have a little trivia, but yeah, the Tide, wild and crazy game. I was able to watch about 2.5 quarters of that live, and then had a wedding I went to, monitored it, and watched a little bit of the replay. But yeah, Bama gives up only 2 touchdowns defensively. The Gators scored on a fumble.
Well, one of the deep touchdowns you gave up defensively wasn't but about 20 yards after y'all fumbled the ball. It was you gave them great field position.
Yeah, I just pulled up the scoring here, and that play was Blake Sims, pass complete to DeAndre White, 7 yards. White fumbled, recovered by Florida Keanu Neal. He returned it 49 yards for a touchdown. But anyway, a record-setting game offensively for Alabama. Amazingly, have you ever seen, I don't know that I can recall, but a guy coming from unheralded position as Blake Sims, who was horrible in the spring, didn't know if he'd get the job, comes in, 4th game of the year, throws for 445 yards and 4 touchdowns.
That's an impressive outing, but he's in Tennessee fans, and I'm one of them, not going to like this, but Lane Kiffin is doing an excellent job with Blake Sims and with Alabama's offense, just like he did at Tennessee when he was there. You remember Jonathan Crompton? Jonathan Crompton was an absolute head case before Kiffin got there. Now Crompton's playing for the football in Montreal, starting quarterback for the whoever they are, Montreal something.
Alouettes.
Alouette. I wish you were Alouette. Alouettes.
I didn't know. Well, that's that's a slinging around, passing league, if Canadian football. So anyway,
yeah.
I don't, if you told me we'd got on a Canadian Football League tangent,
we left Dixie, didn't we? We're outside of Dixie when we're talking about that.
Chet did that, but
sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, I mean, the Lane Kiffin Love Fest this week in Alabama and nationally. I mean, the guy, the Lane Kiffin offense is the talk of the town at Alabama. I mean, that's one thing about him, and I'd heard this, when he's got a star receiver, he's going to feed that ball to that guy, and in this case, Amari Cooper's benefiting with averaging over 10 catches a
Amari
game.
Cooper is a Heisman Trophy candidate. Now, again, I'm not a Bama fan, but, man, the guy's good. So take it. If I say an Alabama fan's a Heisman Trophy candidate, dude's a Heisman Trophy candidate.
Everybody's saying it. I mean, I'm seeing him as second or third in a way too early Heisman straw poll. But anyway, Bama, 200 yards from Cooper. Like I said, Sims over 445 yards throwing the ball. Derrick Henry, 111 yards rushing. So Bama didn't do a whole lot of running, didn't really try to until late in the game. They were pile driving them late in the game, and that's what Bama's
offense set up a little different this year. Kiffin's right now got you guys more of a short to intermediate passing offense, and then once they get them down, you got the backs just to pound the clock, drive them. I mean, you just humiliate the other teams. But what other games for this past weekend? We had let's see what we had. We also had Missouri. Missouri got upset by Indiana. Now that was a shocker, right?
Yeah. Big Ten had a little bit of a comeback week, when you had Indiana beating a top tier SEC East team, which is not
at least medium. Okay, they did win the SEC East last year, didn't they?
Compared to, we can go into how much better the West is than the East for the most part this year, but Indiana come back, beats 18th ranked Missouri. A little upset there. Resurgence of Arkansas, not to be scoffed at win over Northern Illinois, who was in a BCS Bowl, had won a bunch of games on the road.
What do you mean was in a BCS Bowl? When? Northern Illinois?
They played the...
no.
I think they played in the Orange Bowl last year, Chad, or else down at...
I'm gonna have to throw one of the. I'm gonna throw a flag on this. I mean, you're probably right, but I can't imagine that. But okay.
Well, maybe.
I don't
have been a couple of years ago, but
I don't have anything in front of me to look it up right now. But okay. Mississippi State, we already covered LSU. South Carolina and Vanderbilt. How about Vandy running 2 kickoffs back for touchdowns against South Carolina Gamecocks, and that game coming down. With about 3 minutes to go, South Carolina's only about 7 points ahead at that time. So it was an interesting game. Vanderbilt had 365 yards or somewhere like that offense against South Carolina, which is shocking considering Vanderbilt the week before struggles with UMass. I mean, they survived UMass. They didn't beat UMass. They survived UMass.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see any of this game or hear any of the specifics, but I'm looking at the stats now. South Carolina's defense is not good. I think they're overrated in the ratings. South Carolina, that is. They're actually rated. Now, I heard our buddy Feinbaum ranting about this.
Not my buddy.
That I think...
the man with a face for radio.
Carolina is, I think, 1 spot ahead of Mississippi State in one of the ratings, but anyway. Vandy, I don't have a whole lot to say about them, but, they got some points on the board, and they're still terrible.
Let's go to next week's games. Let's see what we got coming up. Speaking of Vandy, I know Vandy and Kentucky plays this week. Now, if Vandy was to actually play Kentucky, a half-decent game, and by the way, Kentucky's favored by 17 points in that game.
Really?
Yeah, which is it's kind of shocking in a way because you'd almost think, is Kentucky that good to be favored by 17?
I think they are. But I mean, this Vandy going on the road, up the road to Kentucky. We'll see how Derek Mason can coach them up and see how they do on the road against the best Kentucky team in several years. So that's one of the early games. We can go ahead and talk a little Tennessee, Georgia, or you want to come back to that here in a minute?
We can talk Tennessee, Georgia. We can talk. I mean, yeah.
Let's come back to that as one of our highlight games.
There's a snore fest in Oxford this weekend.
Memphis at Ole Miss,
the Tigers,
neighbors.
Memphis Tigers, right? I'm right on that one, right? You hadn't thrown me a curveball with a question yet, so to speak. But Memphis. The Tigers versus the Black Bears.
Chet, they're the Rebels. I'm not gonna.
You're not going to use the Black Bear, the official mascot or whatever, the Ole Miss Rebels?
All I know is they're the Rebels.
They're
rated. Man. They're favored by 19 in what I'm looking at here over in Memphis, but
it'll be worse than that.
Yeah, we got that. Auburn's got Louisiana Tech coming in. Should be
a boring game.
Yeah, 32 points. I don't know.
I say Auburn covers it. Auburn will cover that. I think Auburn will have 35 points at halftime.
I think you're right, unless we'll see how they respond after the had a long week to get ready after the K-State game.
Let me ask you about the Arkansas-Texas A&M game, Bill. Does that game have a potential to be a good game?
That's the best game. We got Tennessee and Georgia, but I'm looking at Arkansas and A&M as a very intriguing game. It's a CBS game. Intriguing. I think that I'm putting Texas A&M on upset alert, Chet.
I think, is it because you actually think Arkansas can beat them, or is it you actually want Texas A&M to lose? Which one is it, Bill?
Well,
ding, 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 ding.
You're right, sir. I want both of those things. I want Texas A&M to lose, and I think Arkansas is going to beat them this week.
Why? Because Arkansas is very physical and got a great running attack.
Yeah, just a hunch. They're pretty one-dimensional running the ball. If you can, and Alabama's kind of did this in a way. Last time they played A&M, if you want to eat up some clock, drive the ball, eat up some time. If you can get some long drives and score, and you got to make some stops against A&M. But
it could be like the Auburn game, though. It could be one of those tied at halftime, and the next thing you know, you get blown out in the second half.
It could be a Texas A&M 52, Arkansas 42, something like that. But
it'll probably be a good game.
For those of you who have internet access, you can go to DixieFootballFanatics.com and check out Bill's bold predictions.
Bill's bold predictions? They're bold?
BBP, Bill's bold predictions. And if I had a little bit of internet savvy, actually I found it there. I am picking the games each week, the SEC games, and I'm picking Arkansas 34-31, and this was I probably spent a good 20-25 seconds thinking that
one up.
So, huh? This isn't just something I just spew out. I put a little bit of time.
And when you say a little bit of time, you mean a little bit, right? So that's all right. So Tennessee, Georgia, what's your prediction there, Bill?
Well, 31-24 could go either way, but I'm picking Georgia 31-24.
You really don't think it could go either way? By the way, Tennessee is
I
17-point
do.
dogs in that game.
It could go either way.
It could go either way. I mean, I'll go over some reasons why
I mean,
here in a minute.
Tennessee's on the road, but they acquitted themselves not bad in Norman, Oklahoma.
Your Kentucky Vanderbilt prediction?
I got them winning by 21, 38-17 over Vandy.
Oh, all right, Kentucky. I already mentioned the upset alert.
I got Arkansas beating A&M 34-31. I got Auburn beating La Tech 42-10. Could be worse than that. We didn't talk about Missouri, South Carolina as kind of a underachievers bowl there.
That game, to me, that could be an extremely close game. I mean, right now South Carolina's got one loss in the conference, right? And I guess Missouri, they've got a loss to. Who did they lose to in the conference? Don't they have a loss in the conference?
Well, they lost to Indiana, and wasn't
That's their only loss.
Yeah, they beat Vandy. No, they beat.
Anyway, so you picked South Carolina in that game, right? So I'm gonna that game. I think that game's be closer than the score, and you put a score of what?
For which one?
South Carolina, Missouri. Your score?
I got South Carolina winning 34-21.
13-point spread. I'm going to say it's closer now. I think South Carolina still wins that game, but I'm going to say more like I'll stick with you 34, but I'm going to go like 34-31. I'm going to say a 3-point game.
Yeah, this is Missouri's first conference game this week.
Okay.
Beat South Dakota State, Toledo, and an impressive win over UCF.
So big deal, big deal, and then a loss? That's what they had?
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, well. All right, your Ole Miss,
Memphis. Ole Miss 45-10 could be a lot worse, but that's what I predict. And, Chet, here's the game that I think a lot of people's waiting on. It's LSU and New Mexico State.
Yeah.
I'm
watching that game, Bill. Not.
LSU coming off the loss to
the Bulldogs.
And here's your first trivia question of the night.
Here we go.
New Mexico State University, what is their mascot?
New Mexico State. What is New Mexico State's?
This is pretty obscure for
the Aggies?
That is right. If you could see the look on my face.
Bill just absolutely does not think I know anything about college football outside the SEC. And that's pretty close. I'm actually surprised that I got that one. But, blind hog, root around, find an acorn every now and then, right?
Good job.
So, can we talk a little about Tennessee and Georgia? Just a little bit about my Vols?
I defer to you, Chet.
All right, Bill.
Okay, Chet, now go ahead.
Mommy, Billy talking to the microphone again. Let's talk about a little bit about. Hey, give me, or you can throw a question to me about my Vols, and I'll give you an answer, or you just want me to talk. We can go back and forth. What do you want to do? Come on, Bill, talk.
Well, I know you've got some injuries. You've got a wide receiver injury. You had a player kicked off the team this week. Is that right?
Yeah, let me address both of those things.
Okay,
actually, we have two wide receivers hurt. We got Von Pearson, who was between the guy at Auburn, JUCO wide receiver at Auburn, and Von Pearson, depending
Duke
on
Williams as far as the top guy.
Top wide receiver coming from JUCO. Some people had Von Pearson as the top wide receiver, and some people had Duke, whatever his name is. Duke Williams. Anyway, so Von Pearson got hurt against Arkansas State. All right, he's out, high ankle sprain, don't know when he's coming back. Josh Smith, which a lot of people didn't realize this, but he got hurt against Oklahoma. Now, Josh Smith is one of Tennessee's better receivers, too. So, actually, and it's a high ankle sprain, and we don't know when he's coming back. So, both those two guys are out. But, yeah, there was a true freshman who had not played at Tennessee yet. He was going to be redshirt, Trevon Polk. Evidently hit his girlfriend. And Butch Jones didn't put up with it and kicked him off the football team.
No 2-game suspension.
No nothing. He's gone. I mean, if it would have been, I guarantee if it had been the guy at Florida State, he'd have let him. We'll no big deal, right? We'll do some internal discipline and you'll be fine, right?
Yeah, we'll handle it internally.
Because think of what Winston did. I'm getting off on this again. What Winston did last year was accused of last year. Never mind. We'll go away from that. But okay.
But anyway, yeah. Well, that's some player news. But
I have more.
Tennessee's got a lot of favorable talk in the last week as far as their showing against Oklahoma, staying in the game, with a young team on the road at what a lot of folks are calling maybe the number one team, one of the best couple of teams in the nation. But going into the Bulldogs' den there between the hedges, it's always a good game. I think you were at the game in Knoxville last year when Tennessee had that game and slipped out of their hands.
I was there.
I remember Pig Howard diving and losing the ball, but
it was a great game, and that gives you hope this year, actually, because Tennessee's a better football team than they were last year. No question about it. Tennessee's defense is much faster. We're actually going to have one of our defensive tackles back that was been out all year, Traverse Salisbury. He's back, that's going to help. We also got Darrell Scott. Will probably end up playing another true freshman that hadn't played all year. He hasn't played because he's been injured. He's a tailback. He's another running back for Tennessee that, frankly, Tennessee's going to need some more backs. I mean, they've been pretty much relying on Jalen Hurd and Marlon Lane and a little bit of Devin Young in the backfield. But Darrell Scott is a guy that gives you a change of pace type running back that can, you make people miss in open space, got a lot of speed, good football player that Tennessee's, they're kind of counting on. So it's a good thing that this guy's going to be able to make the trip and actually might even have some playing time. But let me give you some interesting stuff, Bill. Let's see. This will be the 44th time that Tennessee and Georgia have met, and Tennessee owns a 21-20-2 record on that. All right. Georgia has beat Tennessee 4 consecutive times. The last time that Tennessee beat Georgia was when Lane Kiffin was the coach, and we went. They came to Knoxville and we thumped them 45-19, right? So let's see. The last 3 meetings between Georgia and Tennessee have been decided by 8 points or fewer. That's to combine. The last 3 games have been by 8 points or fewer. 20-12 in 11, 51-44 in 12, and 34-31 in overtime last year. Okay,
I forgot that was overtime last year.
Yeah, so it was. It's been actually, if you look at Tennessee football in the last few years, have been awful dry no matter who we're playing. I mean, especially the big guys, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, LSU, whoever, the big guys. We have not been winning those games, and we've got to start winning something. And Butch Jones has a pretty good record in his career coming off a bye week, which we just had a bye week. So look for a good game. I mean, Tennessee's defense is like second in the country in third down efficiency. How about that one? There's your stat you probably wouldn't have believed.
That's good. I mean, yeah, it is. It's a huge improvement in the last few years defensively. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, Tennessee's getting a lot of good things said about them, and this could be a breakthrough weekend. If they get to win against Georgia, which lost to South Carolina, so that it's really going to throw that East into turmoil. Should Tennessee wins, it would be good for the Vols. But I mean, when you look at the schedules coming up, everybody has got so many SEC games in a row coming up. That's really the meat of the schedule, and this is where the season's going to be made for a lot of these teams. Just cranking it up.
Well, the Vols have got, if they can protect Justin Worley, give him time to throw the football. And the kid's a tough kid. If you saw how many times he got hit against Oklahoma, it's pretty incredible. But if they give Justin Worley some time to throw the football, Tennessee can do some damage to Georgia and score a lot of points. Tennessee's got to contain the 3-headed monster that Georgia has. and that's Gurley, Michelle, and Chubb. 3 really good running backs, comparable to the 3 Alabama running backs, in my opinion.
I'll give you that, yeah.
So Gurley's probably the best running back in the conference, if not the country.
Yeah.
And then, that Michelle guy's been looking just really, really good, and so was a Chubb. So, and Gurley runs kickoffs back, too.
All the way sometimes.
Yeah.
But, well, do you think the more I am digesting what you're saying about Tennessee, his injury situation, I know Josh Smith, and he's a really been a good player for him, and Pearson. You think that's going to hurt?
It never can help, but the thing about it is the deepest position that Tennessee has on their team is wide receiver. So they got a 5-star kid, true freshman, Josh Malone will be starting this week. Marquez North is basically all-American type wide receiver. Of course, he'll be there. Jason Kroom, Pig Howard.
Yeah, y'all.
We're really not hurting a wide receiver, but we really don't want to lose any more of them. Let's put it that way. But if they were to start Hurd this weekend, Tennessee would actually be starting 5 true freshmen on the offense. 5. With only 1 senior on that starting lineup, should they replace Marlon Lane with Hurd, which is a very good possibility. Basically he's been getting more touches than and in the game more than Marlon Lane already. Now Marlon Lane's a good back, but still.
So have you got a feeling on this? Can you throw out a prediction?
Yeah, the thing about that is it's hard for me to do because I get tied up or caught up in what everybody else says too, like Tennessee really don't have a shot. But then if I step back and look at how Tennessee played against Oklahoma, if they play like they did against Oklahoma, they got a shot. Technically that game against Oklahoma was not as bad as the score was, and if Tennessee, Tennessee had 2 touchdowns in the end zone, basically intercepted against Oklahoma. One of them we should have caught. Period. So anyway, I think there's a shot. I'm going to say Georgia wins it by about 10. Period. With a potential upset by Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I'm liking Tennessee's chances of just, they may put it together. And, Georgia's kind of that team that they've got 1 loss this year so far. They kind of can drop one when you least expect it. Not that Tennessee's a bad opponent, but Georgia's favored by what?
I believe it's 17. I think it might have got as high as 20, and I think it's back down to 17 now.
20. That's a big favorite. So we'll see how it pans out here. It is an early game, so that's going to be a nice game to watch early.
ESPN.
So I guess they're doing a doubleheader there, but yeah. So Tennessee going into Georgia, and then we've got the Arkansas at A&M at 2:30 our time. CBS going to be the one you're going to want to tune in, and other than that, Missouri, South Carolina, if that interests you, that's going to be on, and the Ole Miss and LSU Stinkers, also on. So
and the Aggies and the Tigers.
Aggies and the Tigers playing Bengal Tigers.
All right.
So Chet is unblemished in his trivia record. He's so far haven't stumped the Chet.
That's pretty good. That's pretty amazing, Bill.
That's the name of this segment from now on.
All right, which college football team is the Lobos, Bill?
That would be the University of New Mexico. I was going to ask you that, but I figured you knew that one. I didn't know if you knew the Aggies, but good job.
The Mustangs.
Mustangs.
Who are the Mustangs?
Southern Methodist. SMU.
I couldn't stump Bill if I had to on trivia. But for those of you that don't know it, Bill's like a trivia king, so,
There's been, mascot. There's very few mascots from the FBS Division I that I wouldn't. Now, there's been some changes, like some of the Indians have changed to Red Hawk, Warhawks, Wolves, and I'm going to miss some of those. But yeah, you know.
What's Stanford's?
Stanford is the Cardinal.
The Cardinal. That's right, without an S, right?
I didn't say Cardinals.
I know it. I noticed that, Bill. You stopped short of the S.
They used to be the Who's.
Who?
Cardinal. What was their mascot prior to?
If it's the Who's, I guess it was an owl.
They weren't. They haven't always been the Cardinal.
Was it an owl?
I think I've stumped a Chet.
I don't know what it was.
They were the Indians.
Oh.
Stanford Indians.
Okay. That's back when.
Stumped a Chet.
Who was that? Elway played there?
Yeah.
There you go. See.
Jim Plunkett. Back then.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We're digressing again.
Chet, there are several undefeated teams so far, of course, in the top 25. Which of the top 25 teams that's undefeated, which I know you don't have that in front of you, has played the toughest schedule?
Well, Oklahoma, of course, because they played Tennessee.
I knew I'd be able to stump him on that one. But
were you going to say
no,
maybe Notre Dame? Or Oregon?
UCLA, I know they play. They haven't had real impressive wins, but they beat Virginia, and who else did they beat? They beat. I don't have it in front of me, but that was the answer.
I don't really care for those
UCLA
West Coast sissies.
Is the undefeated
West Coast
team
sissies
with the toughest schedule.
Am I right about that? West Coast sissies?
We digress.
Think about it now. I mean, UCLA, who could UCLA beat? Are they going to beat Alabama? No. They're going to beat Auburn? No. They're going to beat Mississippi State? Probably not. They're going to beat, they're going to beat.
Now, I'm as big of a Dixie fanatic as anybody, but I'm not going to sit here and dump that much on the Pac-12 as a whole.
Oregon's tough. Oregon and USC's probably, and then I guess UCLA are the three best teams this year, right? Well, Stanford's not bad. All right.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm being a little rough on the Pac-12.
They're the Big 12 and the Pac-12 are the tougher conferences behind the SEC.
The Big 12 -2.
Whatever.
How many teams are in the Big 12, Bill? How many teams are in the Big 12?
I think there's 12.
No, there's not 12. They don't. Oklahoma's in the Big 12, right?
Yeah.
They do not have a championship game. You have to have 12 teams to have a champion. And by the way, that's another thing that I have a problem with right now. The SEC's got a championship game. The Big Ten's got a championship game. The Pac-12's got a championship game, and then the Big 12 don't. I say if you're going to do it that way, then why you shouldn't even count the championship game against a team to potentially be in the Final Four, because you're letting Oklahoma or whoever's going to win the Big 12 out of an extra game. It's not fair.
Yeah, I agree, but they do. I think they're playing a 9-game. I mean, everybody's playing everybody.
Oh, big deal. They still don't play a championship. I don't care that they're playing everybody. You play an extra game, you got an extra shot to lose. Right?
All right. Yeah, I agree with you. Oklahoma, top 4 team. Kansas State, top 25 team.
Well,
Baylor, top 10 team. TCU, 2-0 right now. Good, decent team. Tech, Kansas, not good. Oklahoma State's a decent team.
They play
Texas,
Thursday night, by the way.
Not that good this year. West Virginia's respectable. Iowa State, not too good. So, let's look at.
Where are you going now? You were just
Pac-12.
You just really left
Oregon,
Dixie.
top 14. Washington's 4-0. Oregon State's 3-0. Washington State took Oregon to within a touchdown. They're only 1-3.
Yeah,
so
they got the leading passer in the country. Did you know that?
I don't think Oregon is the top team in the nation.
Washington State has a leading passer in the country.
I believe.
Halliday. I think it's Halliday, but whatever.
Arizona 4-0, Arizona State 3-0, USC 2-1, UCLA 3-0. And I believe we got a Thursday night game, Arizona State, this week. So that's coming up.
I mentioned there was a Thursday night game. Yeah. But anyway, the point is you just totally left Dixie again. You went way out west and started talking football. But all right, just quickly right now, if you had to do it, who's you for in that bit? And just that's it. Who's you for right now?
I don't like this endeavor of picking four. If the playoff was played tomorrow, who would your four
Well,
teams
it'd be better for like 3 weeks from now. Granted, for that, you want me to give you slack for 3 weeks? Is that what you're asking? You want some slack?
No.
Bill wants some slack. He don't want to have to answer this question.
My
right
four
now.
teams are in no particular order. Or do you want an order?
Well, I know,
guess they have to be.
I know
in order.
no, they don't have to be. Well, they're going to be seated, but no, I don't have to have an order. Just give me four.
I'll give you Florida State, Oregon, Alabama, and Oklahoma. I know that's pretty standard.
Yeah, I'm not going that route.
So I said Florida State, Oklahoma, Alabama, and Oregon.
I'm going Oklahoma, right? I'm going. Oops, I don't need to snap in everybody's ear there. I'm going Oklahoma. I'm going Texas A&M.
Please.
I'm going Oregon.
UCLA.
Oregon. And I'm going, who else? Let's go with the Auburn Tigers.
All right. Well, Auburn's been impressive.
I don't even know if I like my own four there, Bill.
Colin Cowherd's a big Auburn guy this year. But I mean, they deserve the attention. But I can't stand them.
All right.
We'll
just get we'll on the next Chet and Bill show. We'll be going all over this what happened this past week, and hopefully we'll be on there, and I'll be talking about the fantastic win that Tennessee had over the Georgia Bulldogs in Athens this past weekend. That's what I'm wanting to say.
Yeah.
What a win it was for the Vols.
When Arkansas beats Texas A&M and knocks them out of the playoff contention for now.
Yeah, for now is the key words.
Be tooting my horn and hogging the microphone as usual.
Yeah, fixing to say what's the difference there, Bill? Anyway, mommy. Anyway, so
Chet, what is going on, Chet? Okay, I don't know, man. Things are rough at. Do you mind if I talk a little out of the conference a little bit? I don't care if you mind. I'm going to talk. Michigan is in a world of hurt. Michigan is in. They are hating on their coach, losing games. Fans aren't coming to the big house. You may see Brady Hoke get fired maybe before the season's over.
All right, here's my prediction on that. Hoke's fired unless Miles takes the job this time. That's it. Enough said, done.
Why would he?
Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? LSU fans, if he loses one game, LSU fans start whining like, well, basically like, well, now I'm not going to go there. I was going to make a jab at you, but never mind.
He is in the prime recruiting territory in the nation. Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas.
Yeah, but who's he got to compete against in the Big Ten other than Ohio State? That's about it. So
Michigan State,
well,
and
I'm telling you, it's Michigan.
You,
I mean, it's the all-time winningest team in college football.
I want to see. I don't like seeing Michigan like this, but the Rust Belt, but Big 12 teams. I mean, it's hard to get guys to go up there. I mean, I think it's going to be like that from here on out. I mean, you can recruit Ohio, Michigan, Midwest, pull some in from the South. You got to. I mean, but I don't know if you can compete in this day and age.
Well,
so that's
we'll just see how that plays out. I mean, it's going to, like The Big Ten, I'm not a Big Ten fan. Right now, I just assume Penn State win the Big Ten this year somehow, knock Ohio State. I guess Ohio State's basically knocked out already. But Michigan State, let Michigan State win the Big Ten. Let's worry about the SEC and the four for the title, this championship series we're going to have this year. That's going to be fun. By the way, when they finally get the four named, that's going to be fun. So, Bama Bills 79, 61, whatever, 71. Bama Bills 71.
Yeah, Bama Bills 71.
I got some trivia for you. How about this? Why is Bill Cole? Why does he have the nickname Cruel? Bill is. I mean, I'm telling you, he does.
But there's only one guy that calls me that. He's sitting right here next to me.
Yeah, I call him Cruel, and I have no idea why. Or I think I do have an idea why, but it's been so long, I basically forgot. But kind of constantly reminds me anyway. He's just, that dude is cruel.
All right, Chet. I mean, I thought I was going to get some trivia questions.
I don't have any trivia questions. I could ask you some Tennessee trivia questions, and I might stump you on that, but that's no, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, Bill, it's been a great podcast again. I want to give our Auburn guys a plug here. Stan Stevens and Jay Webb over at, what's it called? It's at aufans.com, and what is it? Talking Tigers Football, is that what it is? Talking Tigers Football with Stan and Jay. Guys, check it out, aufans.com. They do a good job, and by the way, we will give Jay kudos again for putting together our lead-in for the Dixie Football Fanatics. So thanks again, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Jay. I mean, that was very professional, and we're enjoying that. So, another week coming up, and we want to thank you for listening. And please give us a look at DixieFootballFanatics.com. You can check out Bill's bold predictions again. Get your idea of who's going to win this week. So. We got that. We got the podcast you can listen to. Twitter feed. We got Dixie Football Fanatics. Twitter.
Dixie FB Fanatics.
So, it's interesting. We like to post retweet some stuff and post some interesting stuff. So check us out on Facebook. We got the Chet and Bill Dixie Football Fanatics page. Tell your friends and give us a like, and we'll be back next week with another edition of Dixie Football Fanatics. Anything else going on we need to talk about before we get out of here?
No, I think we pretty much covered it all, Bill. So, but I tell you what, once again, as always, I enjoyed the conversation.
I apologize for hogging the mic.
It's okay, Bill. It's always in good fun.
Yeah, all right.
Talk to you next week.
All right. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you next week on the radio.